Coming up on this episode, I go down the rabbit hole of life, talk about the kind of crazy aspects of life and how I feel everything's interconnected in a weird and wacky way, but also how that adds a lot of value to your life. So let's get into it. What's going on, beautiful people? This is the Perspective Change podcast, and I'm your host, John. On this episode, I want to go down the rabbit hole a bit. So, there's two distinct kind of avenues in life. You've got the immediate and the literal, and then you've got the hypothetical and the wacky. Today, I want to go down the how. So, to try to start off in some kind of solid ground, everything in life boils down to two things normally. If you're talking in the ideas of the universe, they'd say it'd be energy and matter. But really and truly, matter is comprised or composed of energy. So therefore, you kind of boil it down to energy again. You can break down energy into positive and negative. So you always kind of have these dualities in life. But if we're talking about the fundamentals, everything in life is energy. Even matter is comprised of energy. You can't have matter without energy, but you can have energy without matter. Therefore, because energy can pre-exist it or exist without it to me anyway, it supersedes matter. So I want to talk about everything from that energy standpoint. Now, if everything in the universe is energy, including you and I, the things that we eat, we really are the universe experiencing itself in many senses. And that is wacky as anything when you think about that in your day-to-day life. So the universe is you experiencing your job, your life, your ups, your downs. The universe wants to experience all of that. All of the things that you consume, all of the things that you do, all the things that you experience throughout your life. You are the universe experiencing itself. You are energy interacting with energy. We are all comprised of energy. Therefore, you are energy experiencing itself all throughout your life. Now, what are you going to do with that? I mean, it boggles me, and I did say we was going to go down the rabbit hole. But when you think about life like that, of all matter, or all energy, all life, all beings are themselves interacting with themselves in another form, it gets quite hard to have hostility towards any aspect of life. If anything, for me anyway, I want to coexist with all life, all people. Like, I would happily live among nature and this, that, and everything else. I mean, admittedly, if nature left me alone, there's certain parts of nature that would eat me alive. But again, it's looking for that kind of equilibrium in life, that homeostasis, that happy medium. But it all originates from those two forces, that positive and negative. They're always going to be there. Which one you choose to focus on in your day-to-day life, that's down to you. But they're always going to be present in the universe. When you boil it all down to its raw basics, that's what it is energy. And energy is positive and negative. Now, is that to say that positive is always going to be good and negative is always going to be bad? No. That's our connotations on it. That's our interpretation on it. There might be negative forms of energy that the experiences are good. And there might be positive forms of energy which experiences are negative or bad to our interpretation. But again, we're just the universe experiencing itself, which it's hard to get angry at yourself. It's hard to argue with yourself. Sometimes it's hard to talk to yourself. But I get there in the end. The thing is, when looking at life through that lens, not only is it confusing and it does teeter on the edge of a massive rabbit hole and confuse the heck out of me, it also fascinates me. like, to think that everything is the same thing, just in a different form, experiencing itself. Like, the next time you eat food, you are that food eating itself. But you're also that food being eaten. You might not know it, you might not experience it, but it's all energy shared in that same space. So when everything comes together in the end, you'll know that experience. Now, on last episode, I was talking about near-death experiences and how people say that they go through this kind of like past life recollection, or not their past life recollection, like their life flashes before their eyes, but not only from their perspective, but also from the perspective of the people that they interacted with. Now, imagine that, but from the universe. So not only is it experiencing itself through the lens of people walking the earth and consuming and having experiences, this, that, and everything else, the universe is also having the experience of being the earth and being consumed. Now, for us, that may be way too much for us to comprehend in this form or in this time. But does it make it any less true? Like, all of these universal truths, all of these wacky, crazy ideas, to some extent, there's truth to them, at least to me anyway. When you play it out long enough, we will fade to dust and the earth will consume us back again. Like, that's a crazy cycle. But it is a cycle. It's always going to flow from that positive to the negative, looking for that equilibrium. Then nothing is still in life. There's always going to be this flow state. If you was to look at, like the smallest atoms and molecules and everything else, everything comes down to like waves and moving parts. Nothing is static and still in the universe. I think that's something that everybody agrees on. Nothing is still. So the same will always apply to yourself. The same is always going to apply to life. Life cannot be still. It may feel still in the moment, but everything around you is moving. There is always flows going on around you. Whether you're aware of them, whether you experience them, that's a whole nother thing. But in your day-to-day life, there's all of these interactions that you have. But everybody's having those interactions. But then zoom out, the whole universe is having those interactions. While I'm sitting here recording this, there's likely asteroids colliding with other objects in space. There's planets dying out. There's species dying out. There's who knows what going on in the universe. But how much am I really aware of? If we was to zoom back in, my awareness doesn't fall far further than my eyes. From what I can see, what I can smell, what I can perceive, what's in my immediate vicinity, that's what my reality is. All of the rest, while I live within it, while I experience it, I don't have an awareness of it. I have an awareness of what's in my immediate. I have an awareness of John's life and what John needs to do and this, that, and everything else. I don't have any awareness of anybody else's life unless I'm interacting with them. But even if, or when I am interacting with another person, I'm still only John interacting with that person, and they are that person interacting with John. They don't know how I feel sitting there in the moment. How am I hungry? Do I need to go to the toilet? Am I hot? Am I cold? They don't know how I feel within myself, and I don't know how they feel within themselves. So when the universe is out there experiencing itself, it's having all of these incredibly unique experiences that it can only have in those moments, in those ways. And we're just along for the ride. Like, that boggles the mind, no? But yet we'll still go to our day-to-day jobs, this, that, and everything else. And we'll think that is the be-all and end-all of it. But realistically, a solar flare, an asteroid, this, that, or anything else, and we no longer exist. But the universe still goes on. Things still happen. Like, it's easy to get caught up in what we deem is life. What we deem is conscious. What we deem is human, what we deem is living, or whatever way you want to frame it, experiencing reality, what is real. But what is real to me may not be real to you. My memories are very real to me. They happen to me. For the most part anyway, I know they happen to me. For as much as I can kind of confirm my own memories, again, you've got observation bias from observing it from your own perspective. So even if it was a memory that I shared with somebody else, we may remember it differently. So even in that, you kind of shape your own truth. So everything gets kind of pushed through your own lens. I'll look at all of life through my own John lens. Now, there will be things throughout my life or your life that will change how you look through that lens. But inevitably, it's always going to be your lens, and it's only going to be you that can see through it. You can try to describe it to other people through art, music, many mediums to convey how we see the world. But it's only you that can see it your way. And if you can't see the value that you bring, even in that aspect, that's crazy. Because we're all part of this amazing network of experiences in reality. And that's something to behold, no? But the thing is, like, that's the complexity of life. That's why I kind of come up with the idea before of like the kaleidoscope of life and forever looking inwards and outwards. Because there's always going to be that aspect to it. There's always going to be that element of looking closely at life and what you're experiencing and what you're going through, and then how that affects other people. And then inevitably, how that doesn't actually matter at all in the grand scheme of things. Like, as much as we like to think that we matter, do we really? And to what extent? Over what time frame? Let's move it a million years. Does what you do at work tomorrow matter? Probably not. So, depending on where you're looking in life, depending on how you're looking on life, so much is gonna be down to you, really, truly. There's no other way I can say it. Like, so much of life is gonna be what you want it to be. Because if it's not, then why else are you there? Why else do you have that opportunity to experience it if it's not for you to experience? Because, like I said many times before, my happiness ain't going to be your happiness. So if we are all the universe experiencing itself, if John's happiness is etc., what purpose would it serve the universe for you to have the same happiness as me? Not much. But if you've got your own happiness for you to pursue, that's a new experience. That's a new lens for the universe to experience itself through. That's valuable. So I guess this all kind of nicely ties into realizing the value of yourself, because if you can't see the value in yourself, you can't see the value in the universe. If you can't see the value in the universe, can you see the value in life at all? Huh. Apart from the itchy nose, I think I stayed on topic. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. The seed for this episode is going to be take a minute to sit there and think about things. Think about how we are simply just a speck of dust on a speck of dust, hurling through space and time, and inevitably nothing will matter. But in the moment, it feels like everything matters. It's food for thought, hey? All the best, and I'll catch you in the next one.